Welcome to Brand Lover, honest, real, and lively conversations for flourishing entrepreneurs and budding business owners on a mission to cultivate a heartfelt brand that connects with their purpose-driven mission. My hope is that you walk away feeling inspired and refreshed with a weekly takeaway in your back pocket that you can apply to your life or business. Tori Kopke is a rural business coach that combines proven strategies with a twist of innovation. She loves to help business owners find realistic and achievable growth solutions, especially businesses in the Aussie bush. Good old fashioned country values are a huge foundation for your business. That sounds pretty damn good to me. So welcome, Tori. Thanks so much for coming to have a chat with me today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here today.
Oh, well, I'm excited too for a number of reasons. So I recently discovered you on Threads, speaking about your Instagram grid of all things. So we'll get to that in a minute. But first of all, tell us a little bit about yourself and your story.
Yeah, definitely. So I've been in business for about 8 years now. I obviously have a little bit of an accent. I'm originally from Texas. So I've been in Australia for about 15 years now. And then, started my own business and really decided to niche down into rural and regional businesses. Mostly because I live on a farm. My husband's a farmer. And
Oh
so it
my
really made
God.
sense.
Yeah.
We're out here in the country. We were kind of an invisible market 8 years ago, and it just made a lot of sense. And so I love a kind of helping businesses go from idea to income and really help their businesses grow is my biggest philosophy.
Yeah. So how did you start your business? Like, what's your background? And
Oh,
then what
definitely.
was the
So
shift from that background to starting the business?
I have a very interesting background. I was working internationally in oil and gas, and I was managing the Australasia branch of the company. So it was a Texas-based company, and I was managing the branch here. And so in that position, I kind of had to oversee everything and top to bottom, general management, that sort of thing. Then I moved into machinery manufacturing, which is another just whole jump. Again, in that GM position where I was looking over sales, marketing, production, manufacturing, processing. So, quite a holistic view. And then it kind of made sense as I was spending more time in kind of sales and marketing. I kind of decided, you know what? There's not anyone out here serving these companies that are quite large companies in the
Mm.
country. And so I decided to leave my corporate job and to start my own business. I started a marketing agency and I worked in my marketing agency for probably about 3 years. And I sort of became frustrated because I had that kind of holistic background where I was working across all the sectors of the business.
Mm.
That's when I realized, you know what, I really want to go into kind of coaching and strategy as a whole rather than just marketing. And so I did the pivot, as everyone loves to make a pivot in business, and really niche down into business coaching.
Yeah, wow, that's an amazing story. So, I mean, how do you feel now that you're living on a farm and you married an Australian? Like, I just imagine that's not something that you would have dreamt of doing as a little girl. So,
No, no, it was not on the vision board, that's for
yeah.
sure. I've had 2 maternity leaves now, which is just like, I think if I were in America, they would have been completely different to the maternity leaves I was able to have self-employed here in Australia, and the support and just absolutely incredible. And now, my third baby is my business, and
Yeah.
it's really been an incredible journey. And I get to work with some of the most amazing people.
Yeah, how amazing. So, how did you go about pivoting? Like, how did you sort of change and develop a reputation in a new kind of thing? Was it an
In
already established business?
the first sense was I really named and claimed my audience. I just decided to niche hard and go after that rural and regional audience.
Mm.
And I think that's when I decided to like rebrand everything as the rural and regional business coach. And I just really niched quite hard at that point.
Mm.
I also decided, I mean, this was back before everyone had a podcast. I decided
Mhm.
to start a podcast. I started looking at that to help me really build my personal brand. So I did a lot of things that were quite innovative, especially for country businesses back then. One thing that I did that I was doing pre-COVID was virtual conferences. So
Mm,
I would have a virtual event. There'd be 400 or 500 rural women on it, and it was
wow.
incredible. Right before COVID hit, we had Mia Friedman as one of our keynote speakers, and it was so amazing. And then COVID
Mm,
hit, and then suddenly everyone was like, oh my gosh, these country people have been doing this. Tell us how you've been
yeah.
doing it. So
Yeah.
I became one of the like leading experts in virtual conferencing overnight. And I was just like, well, we're doing it because we
Wow.
have to, because
Yeah.
we're hours from networking.
Yeah.
So it was a combination of those things that I think really helped me build that kind of personal brand.
Wow, that is so interesting. And do you think that because you already had that history and that that experience as the manager of such large companies, and then having your marketing experience to jump into a niche like that and wholeheartedly claim it, do you think that that sort of helped you to do that? Because I can't imagine, like I speak to a lot of new business owners, and niching's really scary.
Yeah, niching is so scary, but I think because I'd seen so much success
Yeah.
in a niche, and then
Mhm.
also I think if there's a problem and you're the solution, like people are just going to come flocking to you. And the
Yeah.
problem was country businesses were not being seen at that point in time, and there
Yeah.
was just no one really saying like, I'm here for you. I understand the challenges. I understand the logistics. I understand that your internet could drop out at any moment, which PS, my internet could drop out at any moment. I could lose power at any moment. Those sort of challenges. There was no one
Yeah.
recognizing them. And so I think when people have a problem and you're the solution, it just becomes so easy to niche.
Yes, 100%. And to be able to speak to that so directly makes it such an easy decision for them. And I think that we have a responsibility as business owners to make that decision seem so easy for them rather
Yeah,
than
absolutely.
overcomplicate things, which, when you do have broad messaging, that's what you're doing is you're overcomplicating it for your ideal client. So it makes sense to me. So that's
Yeah.
amazing. But okay, so that's all incredible, and I'm sure that you could share a lot more on that. But the reason that I have you here today is because, and this is all very mysterious and exciting. Recently, I'm just like, I'm still so intrigued by this. You recently unveiled something that I had never come across before, which I assume hopefully means that a lot of other people haven't come across before. Something that seems to now be growing in popularity, although I don't know if it's just because I've seen one now. So now I'm more exposed, like when you see a red car and you want a red car and all of a sudden you're seeing red cars everywhere. It might be that. Maybe I've been living under a rock. I do that. But we're talking about the permanent Instagram grid, which I have since discovered has a nickname, the permagrid. Is that right?
Well, the Instasite is like
Instasite.
the Instasite. Yeah, an
Okay.
Instagram website. That's the term that I'm going with. It's what
Instagram website. Okay.
yeah, Instasite.
Okay. So I'm handing over to you now, Tori. What is it? How did you do it?
Absolutely.
What's the purpose? Tell
Yep.
us everything.
So I what my inside of my like coaching program, my copy coach actually said to me, I'm going to do this thing and I'm going to have a permanent it's Instagram grid. And I was like, wait, what? This sounds incredible. I've been in business 8 years. I have been creating content for 8 years.
Oh,
I just want to like Canva, I love you. I love you. I love you. But holy cow, I just wanted to get off this kind of constant content creation train. And so when she said this idea, I was like, I love it. I'm here. I'm doing it. And she directed me to Amanda from the Wolf Co., who kind of is the real founder of the Instasite.
okay.
She's based in Canada. And so I think that's why us as Australians have not come across it. So I
Ah,
started stalking her, following her stories. And the more and more like I listened to that, the more and more it resonated with me. And I was like, okay, so in terms of a strategy, because I was already looking at just kind of posting reels, because I was
mhm.
really breaking up with Canva at that point.
Yeah.
So I was just kind of focused on posting reels and hanging out in my stories. And then I was like, you know what? If I have this permanent grid that acts like a website where every single square has a purpose and an
Mhm.
intention to either drive traffic to my DMs, drive traffic to certain like links on my website, it really makes sense. And so I sat down in Canva and I did the design. And basically, every single square is whether it's a resource, a way to work with me, information about my podcast, information about one of my programs, customer testimonials. Like every single square covers everything that I would want someone to know about my business in 15 posts. And I never have to make another Canva graphic again.
That's, yeah. I can see
It's
why
crazy.
I can see why you were so appealed to the idea, because I totally felt that. Like when you said I've been on the content creation train, and I know personally, like as a solo business owner, it's a lot mentally to carry. Like you're a mum, you're also working in your business, you're serving your clients, you're trying to, get your personal brand out there with podcasting and collaborating. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh my gosh, I haven't posted anything on Instagram for 2 weeks. It's a pressure thing, isn't it? And then, yeah. And I was like, I felt that when you said, that you had been on that train and for 8 years, and it's a lot. Like that's a lot.
It is a lot. And especially with, I think there were a couple of metrics that I was really paying attention to when I
Yeah.
decided to make this switch. So my static posts just weren't getting the reach. Like they weren't getting that phenomenal reach, that we're seeing with reels. And I was like, well, what is the point of me doing this? And instead of my grid just being kind of, I think, a happenstance of whatever I've posted. Now it's very intentional. Now you land on my grid and it's like, oh, okay, I know I'm going to work through it, or that appeals to me and I'm going to go over there. So that was one of the things that I was looking at was the metrics of what is my static reach compared to like Reels reach. The other metric I was looking at was what are my profile views compared to my followers. And I think I had something like 40% of 40% profile views compared to followers. And so it was a huge number. Like a lot of my followers or a lot of people were viewing my profile. And it just felt like I really needed to optimize those eyeballs instead of it just kind of being they see whatever they see in the first, 9, 12 posts. Now it's like, okay, there's actually something here intentional for me. And it's been about a month since I posted, and people are still interacting and going through and picking the posts that appeal to them and interacting, which is really great. And that's what it's designed for.
Yeah, amazing. So could you tell us a little bit more, just so that listeners can wrap their head around it if they've not come across it before? Like what's the makeup of it? Like what does it look like? Like how many posts are there? And yeah, just I guess the general.
Yeah. So it probably looks like a banner or a flyer that is all in one, but I've actually broken it up into 15 different posts. And then within each, so it looks like a cohesive single page picture. But then if you start looking at the individual blocks on the grid, you can see that there's a different block dedicated to different things. So on mine, I have a few dedicated to my different services and programs. I have a couple dedicated to free resources. I have a couple dedicated to podcasts, some like introductory ones that would help you figure out who I am, how to work with me, who I work with. And it also has like core values, customer testimonials, kind of everything that I feel like someone would need to know. But each brick or block or square has its own purpose. And then within that, each one has a call to action, whether it be to comment a keyword or to send me a DM or to go to the link in my bio.
So it really is like your website condensed to those 15 squares. And what I guess if anyone's trying to wrap their head around it visually, obviously we're going to give you the link to Tori's Instagram so you can check it out. But in the meantime, it's like, to me, it kind of looks like a puzzle grid. I don't know if anyone remembers or if sometimes they're still around, those Instagram grids that were like connected, like the things were overlapping over the square. So it all looks like one thing, like one image, doesn't it? Like, so but they each have their own kind of focal point.
Yeah,
And
that's exactly it. I designed it as
yeah.
one.
Yeah. It looks phenomenal. Like it's really visually effective. And it makes so much sense to me that it's almost like you're taking back the control, like you would in a website. Like you want somebody to you want to lead the user to an end goal, an action, as you said. And it makes so much sense to me that you kind of like, here I am, this is what I do, communicating the brand values initially, like having that initial impact rather than just what you happen to post last.
That's exactly it. And I think it feels so much more strategic to me. One
Mm.
of my like I love strategy. I think if we can be more strategic, we can be more effective and we can go further in business. And so for me, it just makes so much more sense to be strategic about what that grid looks like, and then use reels to be a little bit fun and have bigger reach and be a little bit more casual, I guess. Reels, I feel like they don't have to be that formal, and then use stories to really nurture people. And so it's almost as if now my grid finally has a spot in the funnel, really.
Yeah, it makes so much sense to me. And I'm on the edge. Like I'm in that exploration phase. I'm curious,
Absolutely.
incredibly curious. So so you said that I was going to ask you, have you noticed any stagnancy? But you have already said that there's still people engaging.
Yeah, absolutely. So I posted reels exclusively for 2 months before I made the switch.
Yeah.
So I kind of went into it knowing the algorithm's not going to do anything crazy to me if I
Mm,
make this big transition. But even yesterday, I probably would have had 7 or 8 like new leads come through from the grid from people
wow.
commenting different things. And so it's still working, definitely. Like new eyeballs are interacting with it the way you want it to,
Yeah,
which is
that
really cool.
how great to have made this massive decision and to see it actually working.
Yeah, it has been a massive decision, and there has definitely been criticism. I've had lots of
Mm.
criticism, which is totally fine, and people can have their opinion.
I imagine
But
that's normal. Something different comes in
yeah,
there. Yeah.
totally different. And it's fine. Like I think if you want to be critical, totally understand. But I
Mhm.
also think that for me, it's so strategic and it makes so much more sense.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. 100%. And if you're in alignment with it and you don't, and it has the outcome that you intended, like I mean, I'm applauding you right now.
thank
But
you.
yeah.
Uh,
Okay. So this is the thing. This is the thing that sort of, I guess, it's not holding me back from doing this type of thing, but it's certainly really, really scary because I've noticed that, you go to the end of that 15 squares and there's nothing there anymore. So
there's nothing there. I
did you delete
archived
it?
eight
What have
years
you
of
done with
content.
it? I know, I'm just cringing to think of all that work. What,
Yep,
what,
it's archived. So I can go
okay.
get it. I can retrieve it. I could
Yeah.
repost it. Uh I could have left it honestly and just posted
Yeah.
the grid, but I think it was just so much more intentional to post the grid and archive everything else. Now,
Mm,
I don't want to say that content's like gone forever because it's not. It's in
yeah.
like a content bank for me. And I'm actually using that stuff and I'm repurposing it on my stories. I'm
Mm,
turning them into reels. Like
yeah.
it's not gone forever.
Yeah.
My best performing posts I've turned into podcasts. Like I've repurposed stuff
Yeah.
already. I've been repurposing for years. So
Yeah.
it's not gone, but it is definitely not visible anymore.
I just when I first went to check, I'm like, I've got to check this out. When I saw you post it on Threads, I think, or someone comment, how it is. I'm like, oh, I'm checking this out. And then I went to scroll and I was like, whoop,
Gone.
what? So amazing. So just, but also, do you know, like it just takes such guts to do something like that. Like it's if you're going to go in, like you may as well go all in, and that's makes
That's
sense.
absolutely it.
Yeah.
And if Instagram decides they want to make every single caption searchable in the future, well, then I'll just have my VA start unarchiving
Yeah.
slowly over the over the
Yeah, it's
next
not
year.
locked forever. Yeah, that
Yeah.
makes so much sense to me. And it's the adage of what got you here won't get you there. So there's no point holding on to something. It served a purpose for a time, and then you just Marie Kondo that, like
Yeah,
spark,
absolutely.
doesn't spark joy, not working, out you
And
go.
I have to say, every time I open my Instagram grid now, I'm like, oh, I love it so much. Like it just makes me so happy.
Nice. I love that. And that brings you more confidence, and then you show up differently.
Absolutely. And there have been, I will say, since I put mine up, there's been a few people that have gone, oh my gosh, that's a great idea. And they've gone for it and put them up. There's been a few people that have said, I can't quite do that, but I'm going to make my top 3 posts look
Yeah.
really intentional and like do a
Yeah.
top banner. So I think make it your own, do what feels
Yeah.
really good for you.
Yeah, I love that. It's just different. Yeah, there's different variations, I imagine, of doing that. And you could even do, I guess, the first 9, because that's the thing that mostly shows up for people. So yeah, I'm sure there's lots of different creative ways that we're going to see coming out of this, because I've seen lots of new conversations started about it. Do you think that this concept has longevity?
I think it has longevity for a certain amount of time until the algorithm throws us a curveball or Meta
Mhm.
decides to change everything.
Yeah.
So Amanda, the creator that I spoke of,
Yeah.
the Wolf Co, she's been doing it for 2 years.
Oh,
So
wow.
I think I've got a couple years in me. Like I think
I feel really late to the party now.
yeah, yeah, same. So yeah, I think I've got a couple of years in it. I have had some people kind of copy my grid exactly. So I've seen that, which is not like that's not cool, guys.
Gross.
Um,
Yeah, don't do that.
yeah, borrowing captions, graphics,
Oh,
sameness. So I will probably like have mine redone
Mm,
just to make it like super fresh because I and I think that happens when you're kind of like I'm the first one to do this. So people are like, oh well, if you're doing it, I'm gonna do it the exact same. Which like again, that's not really holding true to like authenticity and your brand values. That's my
mhm,
brand values. So
mhm.
yeah, I will probably have it redone in the next 6 months or so. But in terms of like, is this concept sticking around? 100%. Like I'm loving it.
Yeah, I think so. So what would be like, what would you recommend to somebody who was toying with the idea of this? What would be your top things to include in?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've actually had probably 5 or 6 of my clients are going this direction,
Yeah.
and I'm just so excited. I'm so excited for them. One of them posted hers yesterday, and I was just like, yes, this is amazing. She said she's never felt so popular in her whole life since putting it
Ah,
up. Just the reaction, because it's so different, that
yeah,
reaction of people going, oh my gosh, what is this? Like it's
yeah,
just such a broad, like it's just so different from what we're currently doing on Instagram.
yeah.
Um, my must haves would be kind of like a start here, tell people how to use the grid sort of
Mm,
square. I think if you have any free resources, I would 100% include those. Your values, I think those need to be included. Testimonials, those are just, those are gold.
yeah.
And then your services to a certain extent. And then how do people actually get started working with you?
Mhm,
On mine, I have a lot of carousels behind the
mhm.
grid. And those I think are really helpful in going a bit deeper into an explanation of like what each square is.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. And you mentioned that, you have a clear call to action on every one of those posts. And are you using ManyChat to manage those?
I am, and
Yeah.
it's the best. Like,
Yeah.
why, why wouldn't you? Yeah, so many chat you and I actually have a square that it's like TLDR, and it's like if you want my podcast, comment this word. If you want this, comment this word. So I have that in there as well, just for people who like aren't going to navigate the whole grid. But yeah,
See.
I use ManyChat, and then I think the really important thing with ManyChat is like if someone does get a keyword and they get the link and the automations and yada yada yada, for me, it's really important that I go back and I'm like, hey, did the link work? Do you have any questions? This is who I am. Hi, I'm a real person. So for me, I just think it's really important that I can still connect with the person, even though I'm using a bit of a robot to make
Yeah.
stuff
So,
easier.
so they get the information that they need right then and there. And then that gives you the time and space in your when you have that intentional time to come back and authentically connect with.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
makes
And
sense.
I'd say like my free resources are the most popular one. And so, if someone's looking for a resource and they want it then and there. They don't want it when I
Yeah.
happen to jump back on Instagram.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And it's even getting to the point where people are just so used to having everything like right now that they won't even click a link to go to another link to get the thing to put their details into.
That's it. And
So
I
makes
think
sense.
and I think link in bio, like we all know it's probably not
Mm,
working like it did a couple
no.
months ago even.
Yeah.
And that's where that kind of commenting a keyword or DMing a keyword, Like they don't have to leave what they're doing to do that. And
Yeah.
they don't have to go navigate elsewhere and maybe get lost.
Mm.
So I do have the paid version of ManyChat, and for me, it's worth every penny.
Yeah, exactly. Frees up your time. They get what they
Yeah.
want. Makes so much sense. I love
Yeah.
that. All right. Well, we have covered so much in this chat, and have loved finding out more about it and what your intentions were and how it's going. Like, I think that's really exciting. And it opens up such almost just a certain sense of freedom, I think. Like, I feel like that social media sometimes feels like the old ball and chain of a small business owner. So I feel like what you've done is you've really like shown us a way that we can take that power back, and really focus on the things that are most important to us to, grow our businesses. So thank you so much. I really appreciate your time. I've loved chatting with you. Do you have a final word of advice for somebody who is sort of struggling to keep up with all of the social media things?
I think if you are struggling, this is a really great way forward.
Mm,
It shows that you're being intentional. It also just buys you space, which I think we need all
yeah,
the space we need as small
yeah,
business owners.
yeah,
And look, I have no regrets. I think that there's so many ways to grow online. If we can make one of those ways passive and easy, then like, why not do it?
yeah. I love that. And yeah, I really admire just your courage in doing something that you hadn't been really tried and tested in our, well, I guess at least in Australia, it seems.
I think it's most of North America still
Yeah,
as well.
okay.
Yeah. I don't think it's everywhere, but
Mm,
it seems to really have taken off on Threads. I think
mm,
that's where I'm seeing it the most. I'm not
yeah,
necessarily seeing it like natively on Instagram, but I'm seeing a lot of
no.
people discuss it.
Yeah, I think it's certainly still in that early adoption phase, which is
Yeah.
really exciting. So thank you so much, Tori. It's lovely getting to know you. So tell me, where can our listeners come and stalk the Insta site?
Absolutely. So my Instagram handle is Tori, Tori.Kopke, Kopke. And if you go there, you'll find all the things, my podcast, my my Facebook group, my services, everything's there. So like that's the easiest place to go see what I'm up to.
Beautiful. It's a visual feast. You will love
Thank you.
it. Thanks so much. If you found this episode inspiring or helpful, I invite you to share the link with another woman in business or someone who needs to hear this message. Every woman we can support to grow a meaningful, profitable brand is another woman who is free to live a purposeful life for herself and be more present for her family. None of us are alone in the challenges we face in business, but the solution can start with a gift from someone else, and it could be a podcast episode just like this one. Thank you for listening.